Every day means every day. My name is Brandon Burns, and this video is for you if you have been skipping the gym. Now, it's not what you might think. I know I'm this jacked guy up here talking about you shouldn't be skipping the gym. It's not like that. I promise I'm really not a gym bro to my core. But it is something that we got to talk about. And I want to explain this to you with a quick story. Now, when I was at the University of Michigan as a gymnast, I was cut from the team 4 times in 5 years. And usually when I say that to people, they assume it's like a Rudy situation. If you've ever seen that movie, where I was cut for the first 4 years, and then the last year I made this miraculous comeback. All my dreams came true, and it was this fairy tale ending. But unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, now that I look back on it with some different perspective, that's not what happened. In reality, I was on the team my freshman year, my very first year out of the 5. I was on the team. I was redshirted, so I didn't really get to compete, but I was on the team nonetheless. And then every subsequent year, I tried out, was cut, tried out, was cut, tried out, was cut, tried out, was cut. And that's quick to say, but you've got to understand that that is 5 years of my life, working day in, day out towards one singular focus. I wasn't trying to do a whole bunch of other things. My one goal in life was not fail out of school and make the gymnastics team and be able to compete for it. So I was literally working out 3 times a day, most days, spending well over whatever the NCAA cap is. I think the maximum is like 20 hours per week on the sport. I was doing at least 40 or 50 hours every single week, trying to make this dream become a reality. And sometimes people will ask me, like, dude, why didn't you quit? Because there was plenty of reasons to quit. I mean, I had wrist surgeries, I had shoulder problems, I had all these different injuries going on. So it was very physically demanding, not to mention mentally. Every single year, I keep getting punched in the face and told, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. You're a failure. You keep messing up. When are you going to figure it out? Just pack it in, man. This ain't for you. These are the thoughts that are going through my head, and sometimes they're the thoughts that are being communicated by other people, right? So people say, why in the world didn't you quit? And then you take into account the other influences. For example, this was before the days of NIL, so I couldn't take any money for anything, even though I was experiencing some success with modeling work. I was experiencing some success with viral videos, and people wanted to license them and pay me for them and all these things. And I couldn't take any of these opportunities because there was no NIL. If I took any money for anything related to sports or even my brand at all, unfortunately, that would have forfeited my eligibility. And I was so committed to trying to keep making the team that I just couldn't do that. So Brandon, why did you not quit? And I tell people all the time, it's more about setting the standard for the rest of my life, because I'm not going to act like I was the smartest kid in college. I don't think any of us are when we're that age, but I at least had a reasonably long-term perspective on life. And I knew that if I began to quit when things got difficult at that early age, if I said, you know what, I'm experiencing way too much adversity, way too much opposition, way too much challenge, way too much pain, way too much sacrifice. I'm uncomfortable right now. I'm not getting the result that I want. Therefore, I'm going to quit and not follow through with what I said I was going to do. If I had done that, I intrinsically understood that what I would be doing is setting a standard, setting a precedent, setting an example for myself of how I was going to act and behave and what I deemed as acceptable or not. The reason that I couldn't do that is because I knew that one day I wanted to take my mom on a trip around the world, which I did last year. I knew one day I would want to retire my dad, which I hope to do this year. I knew one day that I was going to be the head of a family and people were going to be counting on me. Maybe if this thing can freaking work, this whole Instagram, influencer, TikTok, whatever, if I can get this thing to work, maybe I'll be speaking on stages in front of thousands of people, not just a few times in my career, but I can be speaking on stages in front of thousands of people every single week. And I'm going to have all those people looking up to me, counting on me to set an example. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the savior and I got all this responsibility on my shoulders. Listen, it's a big world. But I did understand at that early age that if I allowed myself to quit, sometime in the future, I would allow myself to quit again when there was way more at stake, when my failure of perseverance and resilience would impact not just me, not just the gymnastics team at Michigan, but it could impact hundreds of people, thousands of people, millions of people. I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But I intrinsically understood that if I allowed myself to make that acceptable, it's not like you can accept quitting and a lack of perseverance and a lack of resilience and a lack of grit a couple of times and then reinitiate that high standard for yourself later on in life. Like, it doesn't work that way. Your standards are your standards. Your character is your character. You can't activate your character in this portion of your life and then deactivate it over here and hope that nobody's looking. That's not the way that it works. Who you are is who you are because you and your essence and your substance follows you wherever you go, whatever situation you find yourself in, favorable or unfavorable. And I couldn't let myself set that standard. I couldn't let myself, I just wouldn't have felt good about it. I would have felt like inevitably 20 years from now, I'm going to look back on this. And I'm going to say, you know what? That right there, that's the moment that you broke. That's the moment that you compromised. That's the moment where you let yourself down. And because of that, now your kid doesn't have the role model that they should have. Now your dad isn't retired the way he should be because you couldn't follow through with your business even when things were challenging and tough for you. Now this person's suffering. Now that person's suffering. You didn't make your video today. Every day means every day. You didn't make your video today. Now somebody who's counting on you for inspiration and motivation, they don't get it. Now somebody's compromised their standards based on your lack of standards, and now we have this whole butterfly effect where we make the world a worse place. And I know that might sound kind of dramatic to some people, but I'm telling you, this is the way the world works. If you don't think that you're a leader, if you don't think that people are looking at you and analyzing how you handle opposition and adversity and are looking at you to set a standard and an example, then I'm sorry to tell you, but that's not something you get to opt out of. Everybody has somebody that's looking at them. You might not even know who they are. It might be the person that goes to your local gym. It might be the front desk lady at a hotel that you've been to. I don't know who it is, but somebody's watching you. And the fact that you are not living up to the standards that you set for yourself is why, A, you don't experience the results and the success that you want in your life. And B, that's the thing that is putting more negative energy out into the world. And I can't make peace with that. I can't make peace with that being my fault. I want to do something about that. I want to change something. Don't you? And so my point here is this. Figure out what your standards are and uphold those no matter what situation, circumstance, or environment you're in. I've said it before on this channel. Philippians 4:13 is one of the most commonly quoted scriptures of the Bible. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But nobody reads Philippians 4:12, which says whether, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it basically says whether I'm up or I'm down, whether I'm broke or I'm in abundance, whether I'm well-fed or hungry, I can do all things. What does that mean? It's not a happy-go-lucky scripture. People just read the happy part about it. What he's saying is, I am who I am, hint, hint, Exodus, burning bush. I am who I am no matter what, regardless of the circumstance or situation, regardless of the level of opposition or adversity, regardless of what I might find myself going through in a given moment. I am not my feelings. I am who I am, my essence, my inner substance of being. That's who I really am. And so many of us are willing to compromise that just because we're uncomfortable, just because things are difficult for a little bit. And I'm telling you, you compromise it once or twice, it becomes a habit. And now all of a sudden, quitting is not a thing that you did once or twice. Quitting is an identity. Now you are a quitter. You are who you are. And one day you're going to quit when somebody else is counting on you. And one day you're going to quit when it's bigger than you. One day you're going to quit when it's about more than you. And that's the stuff that's going to bother you on your deathbed. That's the stuff that's going to get to you. That's the stuff that's going to make you lay awake at night. It's not going to be the failures. It's not going to be the failures. It's going to be the internal stuff. It's going to be the times where you let you down. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for you. I hope that you found value in this video. I hope it made you think a little bit. And I hope it encouraged you to keep going no matter what you might be going through right now. Because I promise you can get through it. And I promise you it'll be worth it. Because when you do get through it, when you do get to the other side of it, you will have become the person who is capable of being counted on and relied upon. And you can't pay for that. You can't buy that. You can't trick yourself into it. Now, you might be able to you can fool a couple other people into thinking that you're some trustworthy tough guy. You can't trick yourself, though. You can kid a kid, fool a fool, con a con. You can't lie to yourself. You make a habit out of letting you down, good luck taking yourself seriously. All right. I hope that was valuable. All right. I'm sorry. I'm getting like deep and philosophical, but like angry at the same time. I hope that was valuable for you. If you liked it, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, and follow this channel for more. Share it with somebody else who will get value for it. Until next time, do not forget, every day means every day. Peace.